Alright, so I guess I'm going to explain the basics of how the back in time bit glitch works. Um, Basically, the premise is when you die, when you hit the continue, the game tries to give you control of Link and reload the area. But when you restart the Wii, either via the home menu, that reset button, or the reset button on your Wii, it will load your home menu. It will load the title screen. So if you say die, and I want to hit continue, and then immediately hit the reset button, and what ends up happening is the title screen is loaded, but I still have control of Link. So I hit A, I hit home button and reset. If you hit the home button too late, your console will crash. You have to be careful that a lot of things that you'll do if you try messing around with BiT, you'll crash your console. Not really a huge deal. One thing I should notice, if you stay on this first title screen for too long, the opening cinematic will start, and when that ends, or you cancel it, then the BiT glitch is ended. So you should always stay at this scene or any of these open scenes whenever you can. If you stay too much, like I said on here, then it's all gone. Something though that interesting about BiT is a lot of times BiT loads random information from your files that already exist. So just be aware of. So if you're doing a race or something, or some sort of speed run, initially all these files need to start blank, or some sort of blank hero mode files. Because like I said, the BiT draws from these files. So if you like a fully completed file here, sometimes when you activate BiT, you can have like all your items, and then save that. So that doesn't qualify. So I should know it is entering most buildings is okay, and it'll work. But when you try to leave any of the buildings, it will usually crash. Also, leaving Skyloft will also crash the game. So here's what you can do, and there's a bunch of things you can do, but one thing I should talk about first is, one thing you can do is, if you go to a statue, say, there's only 3 statues that you can really get to. The first one's here by the bazaar, and the other 2 are by the academy. But if I say open a file, and this bird statue, if I save the file, right, then this file is now moved to Skyloft. So if I load this file now, then I'm now at this bird statue on Skyloft. Now, the thing is though, is that, as you already noticed already, is that the area is kind of like partly loaded. Sometimes it lags up a lot. Just be aware. It could be kind of a pain to deal with. But you notice I just loaded a file that had the B button activated, and now I can push the B button, which is something I couldn't do in the beginning. I can also push the C button and search for Zelda. So you can do a lot of messing around with it, but most of it's pretty much useless to do. Now, jumping off the edge in some places will soft lock your Wii, meaning that the game doesn't crash, but your controls no longer stop working. Now you notice that there's a gate here, so I can't get the other side to the cabinet. Same with the lower gate, it's also closed. But if I jump off the edge on this like upper part of the stairs, then what happens is the Knight of Skyloft will come and save me. And you see I'm up here on the other side. You can do the same thing with the lower gate. Now I can get access to the other 2 statues. So if I say take this statue, and I save it, I load the statue, then I'll be at this statue. And interesting to note is that you can activate BiT from any file or from any location, and if you save, you'll be at the statue on Skyloft, which means that you can essentially warp from anywhere in the world to Skyloft, which could be useful because, for example, after beating all your dungeons, most of the time you have to head back to Skyloft. So if you activate the BiT and save at a statue, then you can instantly be on Skyloft and save the return journey. And that can save a couple minutes. Something else that you'll need to do is something called a corrupt file. And basically how it works is if you if you save a file while it's being deleted. So if I say I delete the file and then I immediately save it as quickly as possible. And it will do is jazz. And now you notice the file's really messed up. It's got like the time is screwed up. It's just one heart, the name's blurred. And so on and so forth. And it says go meet Zelda. If I load this file now, then you'll instantly die. The purpose of this file is that you activate the BiT glitch by dying. So having a file that you can just load and instantly die can save some time in the beginning of the game. But once you get bombs, it's usually faster to kill yourself with bombs than going through than restarting your Wii. But this is going to be very helpful in the beginning of the game during your runs. The other thing you need to know is that this place isn't properly loaded. Some of the stamina fruit aren't there for whatever reason. Some of them are. The one thing you should know is that this gate to the goddess statue isn't there because I guess it's considered an object and it's not loaded. It's not actually a solid wall. So if I say go to save at it, if I go load a file, let's say this file, which is a new file that's right at the beginning of the game. Sorry. If I save the file and then load it, you can load it either like pretty much any time after saving it. It's queued, so you have as much time as you want. No rush. But just make sure you don't save and load at the same time. I will get to that a little later. But you notice that even though if I open my gear, I have nothing, not even the sword. But this hole is not here. So I can go ahead and immediately grab the sword straight from the beginning of the game. So if I was playing the game, I could just start the game, activate BiT by dying, and then just grab the sword straight from the beginning. I can also place the tablet, and so on and so forth. And if you start noticing when you start going through your runs, some weird things can happen, like especially with the cutscenes. The cutscenes are very messed up. Like you go through the cutscenes in reverse order. Like I had the cutscene here where Fee's like, "Hey, you got the sword," and then I had the cutscene where Link's like, "Oh my gosh, there's a sword." Look how messed up it is, because you have the sword already. And then the guy's there, and then when you leave, I haven't talked to Zelda yet because I activated BiT. I never actually talked to her. So of course, when I leave, I walk into that trigger, and I talk to Zelda again. So I go through these cutscenes in reverse order. It's extraordinarily silly, and Zelda saves me from falling off the edge. So that's very nonsensical, and that can be really useful for gaining the sword early. Also, if you when you do an actual run, you can actually break a lot of sequences in the game, and there's ways to skip the entire race and skipping getting the sailcloth. So that's that. Now, something else you can do is called the main other thing you're gonna do is something called a BiT wrong warp. Here, let me see if I can set one up for you guys. What do we got? So this is a file that's a little later in the game, not by much. I'm going to go ahead and leave and go to another area. sorry, I'm too used to getting the B cutscene and teleporting me. Oh. Oh, I guess I haven't visited any of the statues. Don't make this inconvenient. Oh. So. Being slow. What I do. Now this glitch, this wrong warp that I'm going to be doing, can be done anywhere, but most of the times it's completely worthless, as I'll explain in a minute. But basically how it works is, instead of if I save a file while in BiT, my location is changed, I'm moved to Skyloft. I'm teleported from anywhere to Skyloft, and it can be somewhat useful. But even more interesting is when you wrong warp, which basically is what happens when you save and load a file at the exact same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save a file here. I'm pretty sure you can do it in this area, so we'll see what happens. So this file saved, I'm in this area, right? I'm in this part of this particular map in Farron Woods, right? And as you see, my location is here, alright? Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load the corrupt file to activate BiT quickly. Now what happens when you save and load a file at the same time, what ends up happening is that instead of doing a proper save and saving your file at that location with everything proper, when you save and load at the same time, it only does a partial save because the save is interrupted by a load. I quickly activate BiT there by using the reset button on the Wii instead of the home menu. You can use either one, as I mentioned. But if I save and load at the same time, what ends up happening is the game updates my new XYZ coordinates, right? So my coordinates are changed. But everything else, or almost everything else, is the same, including my original area. So I'm still in Farron Woods, but my XYZ coordinates are changed to where I save the statue. So I'm going to go here, I open the file, and there's two ways to do this. You either kind of get this work right, just kind of swing it to the right and over the start button like that. That can be kind of annoying. You can also just push the right button to control this. So just swing to the right and push to the right. You see load and save at the same time. And boom, I'm somewhere else. When I open the map, you see my location has changed. But I'm still in the same area. Now most of the time when you do this, you'll end up out of bounds. You'll be outside of the map or underneath the map. And you'll just fall forever. Just keep falling in the void. And you're pretty much stuck. So it's good to know where you can do the bits, wrong warps, as these are called, and they can be pretty useful. Most of the places, like I said, that either it can take you out of bounds, or make you, or just give you a fairly useless warp. Like this warp is fairly useless. It doesn't give you very much to do because you still need to visit. In this area, you still have to visit all the Keekwees, so the wrong warp here is pretty much worthless, as you have to visit the whole area anyways. But some places you can skip quite a bit. For example, if I go to, say, the deep woods, there's a way to skip the entire area. Now, not all the wrong warps have been found. obviously, but almost all of them have been tested that seem to be of value. It's, for all we know, there may not be any more, but there might be some missed. So if you feel adventurous, feel free to go around and test out random wrong warps, different areas with different statues. Like I said, it remembers your exact location, so what statue you do that matters, because the different statues have different coordinates, obviously. If you want to try them out, you can try to find something new, but you probably might, I don't know. There's a trick here you can do with you can teleport and skip this entire area, but I've already done this area, so I'm gonna have to do this proper. Rope straps are pretty straightforward. I'm bad. I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and enter the dungeon, and I'll show you a pretty useful wrong warp that you can do. Now the interesting thing is when you do wrong warps is that one case I showed you, the area is loaded pretty much normally. It's pretty much fully loaded. But most of the time when you perform a wrong warp, the area is only partly loaded. First of all, it's very important is when you activate BiT, it drops your file. It just starts from fresh. So you need to make sure to save before you activate BiT. Otherwise, it's as if you just quit the game and you didn't save at all. Now you can kill yourself on the keys over here if you really want to. But as you can see, these guys are very slow, and they only do 1 damage, and it's pretty brutal. So usually what you do is you would after saving you would reload and load the corrupt file. Every point after, like I said, once you get bombs, there's usually faster to kill yourself with bombs than loading the corrupt file. Also, as you've noticed, I keep using the upper statue, the upper academy statue in Skyloft. That's just coincidence. For whatever reason, almost all the BiT wrong warps you're going to use in the game are going to be this upper statue. There's one exception, but it'll pretty much always be this one. And it's the same method every time. As you do it, you'll get faster and faster and get better at it. So just do hold to the right and swing to the right, and you just push A. Just make sure you don't actually do a regular warp. You don't actually do a regular warp, you'll be in Skyloft, and you have to travel all the way back to Fair on your bird, and do this all over. So you notice I'm here now. Remember, I'm in the same map from the beginning, but now my location's changed from here to over here. Something you should notice though is when I walk around, the area is only partly loaded. All the ground and the grass are still there, but and the doors, all the doors are still there, and the chests are still there, which is all very interesting. But some things aren't here. For example, like I said, the enemies, and there's normally a gate here. Gate's not there. The rope isn't here. So there's 2 ways to make everything load properly. If I save at a statue, say this statue is right here, and I save and quit the game and reload the file. If you load the file normally, the room will be loaded. The other way to do is if I leave the room and re-enter the room, then it will work. The room is loaded because the room loads when you go through rooms. This isn't always true. There are a few places where it's going to be a little more complicated, but in general, this is how it works. So if you say like kill this guy, there, real quick. Come on, yes. All right, there you go. When I open this door, you'll instantly know that all enemies are here now. It's pretty ridiculous. So yeah, that's that, and even the spider, which is kind of annoying because normally you're supposed to have this the beetle to get past the spider. So there's a few methods to get past the spider. Just do whatever one you want, mess around, figure out what you like. One way to do it is you do a Skyward spin attack, and then when he swings over, you jump and swing. It takes a little bit of timing. This spider will probably be a bane to your speedruns for a very long time. And like I said, you notice that the room's properly loaded. There's a rope there now, and the gate's here. Now if I want, I can just go and beat the dungeon. I'm on the other side, I just run, grab the key, go to the door. But you'll need the beetle for later in the game, so I'll quickly do this. But you get the idea. It's how BiT works. And if I open the door, you see now this door's open, and I can use this to get the beetle, or when I come back to Skyward later in a full game completion, it'll be open now. So that's that. That's pretty much the basics of BiT and how it works that you'll be doing in a run. More complicated things are when you start talking about fully unloaded rooms. So this dungeon is actually the entire dungeon is all one map. In each dungeon is one map, right? But in the map, the dungeon a lot of time is split into multiple areas. This dungeon is not, which means that you can go straight from the beginning of the dungeon and just go straight here, and we're able to do what we just did. But if this, say, was Lanariu Mining Facility, the Lanariu Mining Facility is split into two areas, and you'll notice that because after you go past certain doors, the rooms will fade to black, or fade to white, depending. And when that happens, it's loading the new area. If that's the case, doing a BiT wrong warp is a little trickier. You just have to be careful to do certain things. Because basically when you do a BiT wrong warp, just make sure that you save in the area that you are going to appear in. For example, there's the first half and second half of the Lanariu Mining Facility. If you save in the second half of it, and then you perform a BiT wrong warp to the second half of it, then the game will load normally, and it'll be fine. But if you save in the first half of the dungeon, and then BiT warp to the second half, what happens is the game barely loads the room. There's no textures at all. Everything is just brown or whatever color, probably blue in this area. But everything is just one color. All the floors kind of exist. You can walk on floors. Walls don't exist though, and it's very iffy. And you're pretty much stuck because the doors still work, but doors that lead to new areas don't work. And the boss room is a different area, and that's true for all the dungeons, which means that it's impossible to get to the boss. Actually, except for one dungeon, but yeah. So you just have to be careful in the Lanariu Mining Facility when there is a BiT wrong warp to do in that dungeon, just to make sure that you save at the second half, save in the second area before you perform the BiT wrong warp. And that's really about it. Some of the reasoning behind it is a little crazy because of the way the game loads the rooms.